Hello, welcome to Create Talks. I have my dear friend Emma Hawthorne here. She was my intern a couple years ago, and she's got so much to tell you about her story, about what she's doing in Cambodia, about something called Hard Places, and her heart for seeing what God's doing through what you and I can do through creativity. And so I want you to share a little bit about your journey. How did you, you first got started in fashion.
Yep.
And you were doing that, and then what brought you and moved you toward your passion?
So I was working as a lingerie designer for 7 years, and during that time I came to know Jesus. That was 12 years ago. And a lot of things changed. So God really quickly spoke to me so much about image and identity and beauty and biblical understanding of what it means to be a woman and to be beautiful, and to really restore a lot of stuff that the fashion industry had stripped away from me. And when I started really understanding that for myself, I had opportunities just kind of open up to work with young people, particularly young women in England, and started doing some fashion and image workshops and a lot of youth work. And the more I did that, the more I realised I needed to learn more about the Bible. So God led me to go to Bible college. And so I did that for 2 years. And in the middle of the 2 years, I had a break. I didn't know what to do, so I was praying and saying, God, what do I do with this time? And he led me to go to Cambodia to volunteer with an organisation there helping women who'd been victims of trafficking. So I spent a month doing that and just fell in love with Cambodia. And also just felt like God had shown me that my fashion background, teaching the Bible, and my love of working with broken young women just all came together in this unique role. So,
and did you feel like you knew that before you were a fashion lingerie, or was that it just all came together?
It all came together. I felt like God had told me to lay down my fashion background and go to Bible school. So I was obedient and did that. And he just opened up my fashion background into something which partnered with him and became a whole new thing.
And one of the things that Emma came also to learn how to do when she interned with me was art and healing. And how could she bring that back with her to Cambodia? And so it was instrumental to launch this program with so many other people that you know, like Jessica Tate and others. But share one of your favorite testimonies. So art and healing, just quickly so everyone's on the same page, is where a team of people that are trained, they go out into the marketplace and they can go to a drug rehab, if there's people that have been involved in the sex slave trade, other places, and they bring a program called Art and Healing where they actually create and share their story and get completely healed. And we saw so many people get rocked. But share one of your testimonies.
Yeah, I think one of the ones which stands out so much when I think back on that time of going to the rescue mission is a couple who came in. They were probably in their 60s, and they were sitting in the lunch area crying, just in this desperate place. They'd lost, through medical debt, they'd lost their home, and we invited them to come into the Art and Healing program. They came in, they worked through this program. It opened up an opportunity for us to talk to them together and find out their background. And it turned out that for the first time ever in their married life, they were having to sleep in separate places. And that's what was breaking their hearts the most.
Come on.
So we got to pray for them. We'd got a picture somebody had drawn before we'd got there of a home, and I got to give them a picture of 2 lovebirds in a cage. And so we gave them these pictures, we prayed for them, we blessed them, and that night they found a home. They were able to move back in together to a place together. So I remember that just really impacting me, because my heart broke for them in that situation as an older couple going through that. And there were many, many stories, and often they were about continual relationship building week on week on week. And having this just privilege of hearing people's stories and being able to understand their brokenness and pray with them. And it was powerful. It was beautiful.
Wow. Now, I want to just get a shout out. If you guys feel like there's something that's going on inside of you and you think, gosh, Lord, I really want to know more about this program, please, get some questions out to Emma and myself. We want to hear about it. Last week we had Sam Pasula on, and there were some incredible testimonies about healing. And so check on I don't have that right now, but on my Facebook page, you can look at those testimonies about who got healed and how they got healed. Because we want you to know that God heals and God sets people free. And that's part of what you do. How does a program like Art in Healing, how would it transform children, and how would it transform adults?
Yeah, I think children, I've been working with a lot of children in Cambodia consistently with the same groups, week in, week out, doing this art and healing program. We've actually expanded it into something
that's huge
more. And with children, I feel like one of the most powerful things it's done is validated their emotions, help them understand that they can have feelings, that they can feel angry, that they can feel sad, that they can feel all these different emotions, and understand what those are and be able to bring them to God. It's been a beautiful process watching these kids get more and more in tune with that, and then saying to them, okay, so let's close our eyes and ask God to show us how he feels about us when we're angry. And they get these beautiful visions. They're drawing pictures of angels coming and hugging them, of God coming and taking their hand and walking in gardens with them, of God being their protector when they come from these homes which are so broken and so unloving.
We're talking about children who have been sold into sex slavery. We're talking about children that have had such devastating things that have happened to them that they've been thrown out like in a garbage heap and not wanted. And she's taking them, and they're starting to feel again. They're starting to be transformed. And a lot of you out there might think, well, how could I do that? Well, we're doing an art and healing, an e-course, so that's going to be happening soon. But part of it too is that, Emma, you had a heart for that. And no one asked her to do that, but she took it on herself to say, this is not going to happen in my watch. And you began this program, which, I mean, Cambodia now will never be the same. And share a little bit about Hard Places. What is Hard Places? So if you guys want to Google it, check it out. She'll put it on our website as well, but go ahead and share.
So the Hard Places community has been going for around 9 years. The website is thehardplaces.org, and their main aim is to work with children who have been either victims of exploitation, sexual exploitation and trafficking, or at risk of being. So they do 3 things really, really well and consistently. One is meet the children where they're at when they have been victims of trafficking, victims of sexual exploitation, whether it's rape or parents selling their children, which is regularly happening there. They also do a lot of preventative work with kids. So they do a lot of work talking about good touch, bad touch, talking about what children do in a case when a man maybe approaches them and they're in trouble, or even if it's their parent who's trying to force them to do sex work. And then the third thing they do, which is really unique and powerful, is they actually work on prosecuting the perpetrators. So they have several cases which they've taken to the court, which they've managed to work all the way through and have these children go and testify. And that is a huge thing in Cambodia, because that has not happened usually. And so that's sending a really powerful message that this is not okay, and there is a result of your actions.
Yeah, and if you want to, I mean, the UN just came out with a report about the sex slave trade and how pervasive it is, and how many people are really like that. People don't think in their, no, that can't happen in my city. It's happening all across the planet, not just in Cambodia, but everywhere. And we have to take time and pray, and we have to build up places like Hard Places so that we can see this thing shift and change. So this is huge. And I love your heart. Thanks you for sharing so much. Hey, share about the belief systems that fuel this in Cambodia, and why it's important to create programs that are addressing this.
Sure. So Cambodia's got a really turbulent recent past. In the 1970s, there was a genocide there. A third of the population were killed. And people who survived it with extreme trauma. I think you have to understand the context of Cambodia, that people emotionally, spiritually, physically have just gone through terrible, terrible times. And so there are different things that play into the situation there. One is extreme poverty, just complete lack of any other way of making an income. And so people will go and do sex work because they have no other option, or they feel that they have no other option. One of the big problems that I see, and I feel like is a huge spiritual stronghold that needs breaking down, is that families don't love each other in a God-centered way. The enemy has come in and divided family relationships. And so oftentimes you hear that it is a parent who has sold their child, or their teenage daughter's virginity has been sold for $100 or $1,000, whatever it is. This to us is like shocking and unthinkable, but you have to put your head into the context of how broken the parent is to be in that situation.
To do that kind of stuff. Think about that, how broken they would be, and how the whole family system, this isn't just one family, but many families do this just to survive.
Another thing which is really key to know is that they really think of women and men differently. They don't have gender equality in the way that we do. So they have this saying, like, men are worth gold, they can be repolished. Women are worth white cloth. Once they're stained, they're ruined. And so this is a really detrimental thing for women there. And oftentimes if a woman is gang raped, she will then be forced to be a prostitute, because they think, well, what else can you do? This is your lot, you know? So sometimes that can be the case. They also have this expectation that men ought to be able to sleep around, that, you know, even in marriage, it's often the case that men are going to visit prostitutes, and so it's part of their culture. There's this expectation that there are prostitutes available.
You know, many times we look at what it means to be a Christian and to, like, transform the nation, but it's not just people that receive Christ, but they have to have a kingdom mindset change. Sometimes they receive Christ, but they continue to live in the way that their family was brought up. And so part of what I think the Hard Places is doing, and what you're doing, is creating a systematic change, which is huge for what we want to see happen. And I'm applauding what you're doing, because we all need this. Think about if you gave to Hard Places, or if you got behind what you could do in art and healing in your neighborhood and saw things get shifted and changed. So I just want to bless you in that. Oh, by the way, we want to do a shout out to people that are on board with us. So viewers from Missouri, Canada, Oceanside, California, yoo-hoo-hoo-hoo, Denver, Jackson, Hole, Wyoming. Hey, by the way, I'm going to Jackson Hole, Wyoming next weekend, so check that out too. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo. We're so glad, and I'm so excited to be there. And so this is something that together, it's not just for one person or for Cambodia, it's for the whole nations to cry out, God, we have got to have a change. We've got to see this. And as Cambodia changes, the world can change, and that's the beauty of the testimony. Emma, if you have any words of knowledge for healing, or want to pray for people at this time, just go for it. And if you're sensing like if there's people out there that are watching that have a heart for this, just go for it.
I think the thing on my mind is that there are people out there who see problems in the world. They maybe their heart is broken for the situation with trafficking or exploitation or whatever it might be, and you're thinking, this is a huge global issue, like, what do I do? What can I do? Just little me. And I think what I just want to encourage people and say is, I saw a community just ravaged with the enemy's schemes and strongholds, and said, God, I'm not having this. What is your solution? I don't know what to do myself, but God, you know, this is not how you intended this community to be. So I just want to encourage people out there, if you are feeling your heart is just crying out for a situation, a nation, a community, a person, and the enemy has really got into that, then it's not hopeless. You know, you can ask God, okay, God, what is your strategy? What is your solution? Give me a vision of how I can use who I am, as I've used art and fashion and my creative background, to see that change come. God will really download those visions and give you a solution.
I think without us, God can't move. Without us, we can't see the heart of heaven move. And I want you right now just to open up your hand and just ask right now, God, what thing have you called me to touch in my lifetime? What thing can I do through my books, through writing, through art, through music, through dance, through fashion, through so many transformational things? What is it that you have created me to transform? And just let him speak to you right now. Yeah. And we just release the grace for that to happen. We release the team around you to see that thing shift and change. And God, we thank you that this is going to multiply. I think, Emma, one of the great things that she did is she came clear across the pond to come here, not during the School of Ministry, but just a heart to find out more about how she could transform Cambodia, and how she could learn about art and healing, and how she could grow. And now she's taking all of what she's learned and she's being able to birth that. And these kids now, you're doing art projects for them.
Mm-hmm.
They're creating things to sell, to break off the spirit of poverty. I mean, there's so many things that you're starting and you're spearheading to see things shift and change. And why not in your country? Why not in your city? Why not what God would have in you? So many times I think we expect somebody else to do that. Let Emma go. No, and God says, I want you to go. And it might be even across the street, but God wants to touch you. I love the power of what God can do through you. Mm-hmm. If I just want you to, like, right now, look in the camera and just begin to declare over them what you want to see happen. Yeah.
Yeah, so I declare that communities will be completely transformed, that neighborhoods will be filled with light and hope, that the God colours and the light will be restored back into communities which have been filled with darkness. I declare that you are the people who God has chosen to bring healing and restoration and transformation to your street, to your home, to your neighbourhood, to your city. And I also declare that for many of you, God is going to give you a new city, a new country, a new place. He's going to place on your heart just this burning desire to go somewhere. And when you get there, he's going to download vision to you. I declare that you will receive the creative, transformative visions from heaven that are going to open up channels for God to come and speak into nations, to come and speak into people's hearts, to bring back all the things the enemy has tried to kill and steal and destroy, and show people that they can have life again, that they can have hope again, that they can be the generation that rises up and brings heaven into their nation.
I saw something and I saw a viewer named Sam that's watching right now that's getting transformed, and he is saying, wow, I think it's time for me to stir up that passion to write. And I feel like you're going to be writing articles about what's happening, and it's going to transform people in different cultures to understand the goodness of God. I feel like there's also, if anyone knows of, it's like a Paulette. I heard the word Paulette, and Paulette, you are getting ready to launch out into the media industry, and you have these ideas and you're wondering, gosh, how can I do that? And it's time for you to take that plunge and to go for that dream. And then I heard this, like, it was like a trumpet call when Emma was talking, and the trumpet call had to do with it's time that there's a mighty army rising that is not afraid to transform the government, that's not afraid to transform the different kinds of mindsets that have been entrenched in different cities and nations. And even like in America, there's things that are happening with racial prejudices. There's things that are happening with like what people are doing in games and this and that too. It's like we're in a flux right now in our country, and God wants us to champion and to see what we can do to transform that. And some of you out there that are watching, you've been called to do that through what you've been created to do. So we bless you in that. So I any last words? Any last things that you feel?
Yeah, I feel two countries that God has just spoken to me. One is the Philippines and the other is Sri Lanka.
Yay! And what else?
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka, okay.
So I don't know if anybody out there is in one of those countries, or that's a country that has already been placed on your heart. I know that those are both countries where, you know, God is going to do powerful, incredible, amazing things. And I just want to encourage you that you are needed there. There are people listening who God is calling you. And as I say the Philippines, as I say Sri Lanka, he is moving your heart, and he's going to replicate some of the things that he's been doing in Cambodia in those nations. So just to say yes to him right now, if those are nations that have been in your heart.
Yeah. I love that. I just feel like, and we're just going to do an impartation right now. I feel like this is your time to dream. I don't know why, but I just feel like there's so many people out there that just they've had question marks about places. They've had question marks in their head about writing a book or doing things that seem like, am I really that special that I can do that? Am I really that courageous that I can go to Cambodia, that I can do that? And the Lord, I believe, is giving a special degree of courage. I just heard Joshua 1. And I honestly believe that there's people, and you're watching it and you're going, that's for Joe. That's for Susie. There's people that you're connected with that when you heard Emma's beautiful testimony, you go, oh my gosh, I believe that that's for this person, send it to them as well. And let us know how this has impacted you as well. So I would love for you to pray and just impart what you are.
Yeah. Yeah, Lord, I thank you that creativity comes from you. That creativity is heaven's download, heaven's beauty being restored back to the
Yes.
nations, to people's hearts, restoring back their true identity, created in the image of God to be creators. I thank you that every one of us is filled with the creative ability to bring restoration on a huge scale, to speak heaven into communities, into people, into nations. So God, I lift up every person who is watching this,
come on.
and I pray that you would move their hearts today in a new way. You would give them boldness, you would give them courage, you would give them new vision of how they can use the creativity that's inside them to flow out, to restore and bring fresh life, to bring restoring living water through colour, through dance, through fashion, through all sorts of therapeutic arts programs. I just declare today is the day that people are going to say yes to what you have for them.
Amen. Well, thank you, Emma, for joining. And again, look on my Facebook page. She's going to put down everything about hard places, about what that's all about, so you can link in and you can see that. And if you have any comments for her, please put that on my Facebook, and she's going to comment on that as well. And thanks for joining, and we'll see you next week. And you were born to create, so continue. Thanks again.